Good Thursday to you, Cross Park. We're calling these updates and these sermons Life in Lockdown because it sounds better than recorded ramblings. As we're all adjusting to constantly changing news and circumstances, you're asking lots of questions. What does it look like to work from home and love my family? What counts as social distancing? How many Zoom calls a day can I stomach? But we're also asking the deeper questions. We need to be asking, how do we live well during this time? How do we love our family and our neighbors well? How do we apply the gospel? And how do we not let the physical lockdown lock us down mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? So I want to talk for a few minutes about what I'm calling a strange Sabbath or a strained sabbatical. The word Sabbath means stop, cease, rest. No, you can't keep working. I've included in this email a link from a sermon this fall about Sabbath rest. You can go click there if you want to review it or meditate more on the idea. But a good summary of Sabbath practice is that you work your normal labors for 6 days, and then on the seventh day you cease and rest from your normal labors. Well, regardless of how much or little your job has changed, there's no normal anymore. All of us are not doing our normal labors. And whether this has been more or less work for you, more or less stress for you, the reality is we've had this lockdown, this strange sabbatical imposed on us. And what's true is, almost regardless of the conditions, our own hearts, our own personality patterns and sin patterns respond often to stressful circumstances in a way that makes it all worse. So I'm going to speak for myself, but I think it may be in a way that relates to you as well. In my job, I want to both be and seem competent. I want you to think I know what I'm doing. Now, I think that after 10 years of being the pastor, I know better what to do than I did 10 years ago. And yet, in reality, there are many days when any given circumstance in front of me, I don't know what to do. I don't know the best thing to say, the best decision to make, how to counsel or shepherd someone. There's plenty I don't know because I'm just a guy, right? I'm not Jesus. There's not that much that I can really do to help you except to point you to the gospel. And so as I think about my own work, I'm regularly reminded how much I don't know. I see my own weaknesses very clearly. And so in my sin, I'm tempted to want to make my work a kind of performance that makes me feel good about myself. I want work to give me something that I need. I want it to give me something to show that I'm competent, that I'm productive, that I'm effective. And although you don't have the same job as I do, you probably know how that feels, that we look to work to not only know that we got a good job done. We don't simply want to know we properly discharged our duties, but we want work to give us more than that, to tell us that we're okay, to tell us that we're valuable, to tell us that we are doing meaningful things. And although work can do a little bit of that, it doesn't do as much of it as we want. What we really want is validation. We want justification from our jobs. So I want you to think with me briefly about a classic text in Selfjustification from Luke 18. Jesus tells a story. He tells a story about two men who go to the temple to pray, a Pharisee and a tax collector. The Pharisee prays first and he says, Lord, thank you that I'm not like this man, a tax collector, and here are all the good things I do spiritually to make my resume more impressive than his. Now, as Americans, we're particularly averse to what sounds like religious self-righteousness. It's very easy to notice that this guy is an odious, self-righteous oaf. But what if I changed his language a little bit? What if he said this? I work very hard. I provide for my family. I bring home the bacon. I'm so busy. I'm so involved in so many things. I hardly get any sleep. I am just working myself to the bone. Now, we talk like that all the time in South Charlotte. How's life? That's good. It's busy, but it's really good because I'm working so hard. I'm doing so many things. And although we aren't saying that we're religiously self-righteous, it's actually a very similar heart. It's a kind of justification by activity that if I do enough stuff, I can convince you or myself that I'm good. Jesus talks about this heart of self-justification in the passage. He says that, in fact, the other guy, the tax collector who didn't have much to show, all he could do, it said, was beat his breast and pray to God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And Jesus says he's the one who went down to his house justified. He didn't give a long resume, a list of religious or other activities to say how great he was. He didn't try to argue for how important he was. He simply said, have mercy on me, a sinner. And Jesus concludes the story by saying, everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and everyone who humbles himself will be exalted. So here's the connection to life on lockdown. Sabbath, even this strange one that's been imposed on us, says stop, cease, don't do it, quit it. Sabbath tells us that life is on pause, and it does it for our good. It's trying to protect us from justifying ourselves by work. Sabbath makes you put away your normal routines and find a different kind of rhythm, which is very hard for a people who like to justify ourselves by our efforts. This imposed lockdown, then, has a way of clarifying, of stripping away the veneer. Think of it a little bit like a piece of furniture that needs to be refinished. The furniture is shiny, but when you strip away the varnish and you get down to the wood itself, it's not nearly as shiny. It's raw, but it's real. It's what the real wood, the stuff of the furniture now is seen when the outside is stripped away. I think in many ways this strange sabbatical is stripping away the niceties. It's stripping away the shininess that we typically put on ourselves to make ourselves feel and look good. It's very difficult to justify yourself when you have to stop your normal work. As I joked about our sabbatical summer, the hardest thing about sabbatical is you can't take a sabbatical from yourself. So our reality is that during life in lockdown, our stuff, our family's stuff, our heart issues are starting to come out. And it can be very painful. And that is a great gift of grace from God. He wants to expose our sin so we'll stop trying to build a resume to make ourselves justified or validated. Because actually we can't justify ourselves by our work or our works or our activities. The whole point here is that Sabbath says, no, stop. You can't do it all. You can't make yourself pleasing to God, which is exactly why we need Jesus. Stopping our work, if you'll let it, stopping our normal work can allow you to stop trying to justify yourself by your work. Of course it's important to work hard. Of course it's important to provide for your family, to try to be competent and do your work excellently, but our hearts usually take it to another place. We go beyond doing our duties and doing a good job and being good stewards. We go beyond that, expecting work to provide something that only Jesus can provide, which is why he tells a story like Luke 18, and why this strange, strained Sabbath that we're under has an opportunity. Now, some of you have said, it's great having more time with the kids. Even though work maybe is stressful in various ways, I'm getting more sleep, I'm getting a little more rest. Now, don't let those be pleasant side effects of the lockdown. Rather, let those things remind you that spiritually, you deeply need rest. That the grace of God comes to the one who rests in God, not works for God, not works to prove himself to God and others and even to yourself. Only the one who rests finds grace. And that is the lesson that we can learn today from life in lockdown. That although we want to justify ourselves and feel like we have something to show, that the imposed rest is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to deal with the stuff that's showing up when the veneer, the normal routine, is stripped away. It's an opportunity to lean into the grace of God and to rest in him. Any of you that see in yourself, that are seeing this self-justifying tendency during this time, you have a great opportunity. It's an opportunity to confess it to God, to rightly say to him, oh no, I don't rest well at all. I can't rest. I think I can work for myself. And in this time, you simply say, be merciful to me, God, a sinner. That is exactly why Jesus came, to provide deep, true spiritual rest for those who realize that they cannot and will not achieve it on their own. So ask Jesus to give you that kind of rest and receive it from him during this life in lockdown.